Oh, got my second COVID shot, Pfizer, gang, gang. Hey, y'all, I am Victor Ye. I help provide insight to empower, and today I got my second flu shot. Now, the first one, or COVID, not flu, the first one went by pretty smoothly. The next day, I was out the whole day. Felt super tired and drained. And when I got the shot and I went into like the waiting room is when I just started breathing and doing what's called the Wim Hof method of breathing. This time I pretty much did the same thing. Applied a sort of healing touch that we do in my practice on my arm and just grounded my energy and was very present in like at the cellular level. So hopefully it goes by a little smoother this time. I've heard varying stories, but it did make me want to talk about when I got COVID back in October. It's April for me now. Don't know when you're watching this. So what it made me want to talk about, I think I've maybe covered this in a previous video, but I wanted to reiterate it. So we are going through a deep, steep time of change, and we're seeing that, we're living that, yeah. A lot of things are kind of getting thrown up into the air, and we're seeing the chips falling where they're falling. But one of the main reasons that's especially persisting in this moment is how when I went through COVID, it reminded me of when I did what's called TRE, Tension Trauma Release exercises with the awesome Dr. Jenny Rolnick, Dr. Doc J-Ro on Instagram. And what this does is to create, we do a few exercises, mainly like wall sits, some pulsing squats, to like gently fatigue the legs and especially the psoas muscles. The psoas muscles are you can look them up, PSOAS. And these in psychology and psychiatry in the psychological field are known as the trauma muscles because that's where we carry a lot of the trauma from our lives. If you ever think of like when you feel or you see somebody who is threatened or reacts in a scared way, that's like making the gesture here, but the whole body shrinks down to protect the groin area. Now, if you're into subtle energies, you know that the first and second chakras that's where they're located, as well as the third right around the belly button along the spine. And now why I'm bringing this up is because, the COVID thing and the TRE, Tension Trauma Release exercise, is because when I had COVID back in October, for that whole week, I noticed such a corollary between the two. And so what the doctor usually mentions, I've taken the TRE sessions a couple times. What the doctor usually mentions is how in her earlier years, there was a veteran who was a door kicker. A door kicker, if you don't know the terminology, is the point man in the war zone, in war. Something I've done a few times, kicking a door open, and the mortality rate. And I went to Afghanistan. This was an Iraq veteran. And for them, point men had a 60% mortality rate. Super frightening, super traumatic event, if you can imagine, to kick the door and pretty much kind of almost expect that you're either going to get shot walk right into the line of fire, and just, the overwhelming relief every time you like just walk in and survive the ordeal. But what happens is, especially during this TRE exercise, is that when the trauma comes up to be released in this trembling, induced trembling, is that the subject, the patient, the person starts reliving the events of the trauma, or not reliving so much as like the body starts reenacting the physical conditions of the event. I'm doing like the kicking thing because this veteran just started it was going through the TRE session and just started kicking his legs like crazy and needed to know what was going on. So they found out that the body was releasing the event pretty much that got imprinted into the tension in his body. And so this I started feeling during my COVID ordeal. It was like my legs just started kicking like crazy. I had a lot of tension in my legs and psoas. In my time in the Marines, I was really, really into running with weight, and up and down the hills of Camp Pendleton. And it's something that I did. In a way, during that time, it was kind of to hurt myself, to punish myself. I would jokingly refer it as self-hazing. Excuse me. And then when I got home, in the years trying to transition out of that warrior mindset, out of that traumatized mindset, I ended up taking out my anger on the tree in my backyard. It's all I'll try to upload some pictures, but it's black now, and I was had punching mitts, had gloves on, and would just punch the walls, which were brick. I would practice hooks, and I was just trying to get all this trauma, all this war embodied experience out of my body. And during that COVID experience, I just started punching like crazy, and I was allowing the stored energy to leave my body. And I usually reference this in most videos, especially those covering or referencing trauma. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, The Body Keeps the Score. Highly recommend that book or audiobook if you have Audible. Maybe it's on YouTube. Highly recommend it. But yeah, it feels like, and it's kind of been verified in numerous ways, how different events in our lives, like COVID, like natural disasters, are very closely related to the energy in the collective. And as we move into this kind of this ascension process, as this universal energy is moving, descending through us, and we're ascending our vibrational frequency, the gunk, as the energy is coming in, it's clearing out the stored lower density energy in our bodies. And it can look like a lot of what I'm covering here is how you may feel like this energy is trying to get out of you, and the best thing we can do is just in a sense practice allowing it, practice allowing the body to move in the way that it needs to move. And for this, dance helps a lot, movement helps a lot. So I just wanted to cover, hopefully tomorrow goes better than last time. Yeah, because last time I was out. I had more gunk to get out. But I'm very curious if any of this resonates with your experience, if you've had COVID yourself, what it felt like, if it felt like there was any releasing as well, or if you just felt like you were dying, what I felt. And if you've been vaccinated, what the next days were like for you. Yeah. So if you're still putting it off, if you're still doubtful about getting vaccinated, the way it was explained to me was that vaccines like Pfizer and Moderna attack COVID is like a little ball with spikes coming out of it, and the nucleus, the little ball, is what evolves and changes, but it needs these little spikes to inject the virus into your body. And so what the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines do is attack those little spikes so that the virus can't be released from the nucleus. There are some that attack the nucleus, and some reports in South Africa, I think somewhere else, I think it was like Central Africa, were reporting a somewhat deadlier strain, like an evolved strain of COVID. So highly recommend Pfizer and Moderna, and highly recommend breathing exercises. I have a few. I'll link them in the video. I'm gonna sending a signal to myself to put it right here. If you haven't had COVID, like it completely deprives or lowers your oxygen saturation, and it is not fun to go through. It sucks. It sucked. But here's hoping you don't get it at all. Maybe you've led a very tension-free life. You're not meant to in this life to get this thing that's claimed a lot of people, and it sucks. And there's a lot of deniers about it. But everything serves a purpose. Yeah. Let me know how it's going for you. And if you've lost some people, which I have, and maybe it's weighing on you, feel free to book a session. They're completely donation based. I don't charge for them. At iamvictor.com/book an appointment, all one word, or just iamvictor.com and then look for it right there. But other than that, it sucked. I think that's all for now. Let me know your thoughts. Like, share, subscribe. Appreciate it. Love you. Peace.